Hello there, commanders, and welcome back to National Cup. We are in match 2 of the last round of the group stage between China and Spain, a battle for the 4th place. Whoever wins this goes ahead, or rather, Spanish team needs to win, Chinese team needs only to tie. So one victory for the Chinese team will set them off to the playoff stage and eliminate the Spanish team. So we are here on Turtlebook Forest, most likely the Spanish map of choice, as Neyev chose that map multiple times in the past. So let's see what both teams are up to. Looks like the Spanish are just going to defend point A with their pikes, helped a little bit by dogs. China is heavily committing to C, as they used to do pretty much always. And well, they're just saying to the Spanish team, yeah, we're just going to take C and then defend, because this map is very, very easy to defend on. And well, the Spanish team will try to prove them wrong. They're catching, 2 units of spears off guard here around the B flank with a beautiful barrage to the rear, another with quick reload, and 2 units are almost gone. So the Spanish are launching a powerful attack uphill over here. These are about the best defensive positions in the entire game on any other map. It's hard to find better defensive positions, but Spanish team has a lot of units in here compared to the Chinese team, as the Chinese team sends a lot of units into the center. So then, after capturing C, they could launch a back-cap attack onto B, depending on whether or not the Spanish team will be able to capture E quickly enough. That is a possibility. Here, the Chinese team will sacrifice their spear units to hold off the Spanish advance, to prevent them from flanking and attacking E from another angle. They're sending more and more units over there as well, and they're using the Foxmen and their hamstring to slowly delay the Spanish team. But repeating crossbows really do like shooting Foxmen, as is one of the units that they deal more than just AP to. And yeah, those Foxmen are almost already cut down, and the Foxmen here caught off guard by a by a sword unit and dog handlers and dogs. And now the Spanish team continues their advance. They do have cavalry here to deny the healing zone, so those spears would definitely like to heal and bring back the other unit that they have lost, but the Spanish team is not going to let that happen. No charge though. They could have just charged in here and possibly just stopped the units from entering the healing zone. Now the swords can buy the space needed for the spears to heal up. Let's see if the Spanish team can outmaneuver there and still prevent the healing. It will definitely do so for quite a while. You do have access to all for perseverance, I assume. That is correct. They're not using it though. There we go. Now it goes out. So the healing zone will be denied. The repeating crossbows are still mincing the Chinese infantry units. One of the swords already down to half, the other one is going to be flanked. Flank is not applied though, now we have a reflank, but it's not going to be enough to flank. But once this unit is cleared, a possibility for a side flank will be open, and Spanish team will be able to capture E. We'll see if that happens, as the Chinese team is slowly sending reinforcements from C to E to defend. Both teams are just chilling on A and D side. C almost captured by the Chinese team, but it's only one unit capturing. Cavalry elects to go for archers and miss the charge rather than to oath on top of C and buy a lot more time for the team. Now that C is open, the Chinese team can try launching that sneaky attack onto B. That's what they're doing already, as I can see, but only with 1-2 units. How about the Spanish attack onto E? Cavalry have been cut down on the healing zone, so no healing denial anymore, and a lot of reinforcements for the Chinese team coming from C to E. It looks like the Spanish attack, even though it was so damn close to being completed, is going to fail in the end. They will be forced to retreat, heal up, and try to repeat the attack, or maybe try finding some success or somewhere else. Now let's see what the rest map is up to. China, after getting C and now being pretty much certain they are going to defend E, they are launching an attack onto A, even though they don't really have to. As I said at the beginning, they're probably just gonna, keep both of their points, capture C, and it's like, yeah, we're just going to win by having 3 out of 5 points and just chill. But it looks like they are not going to chill, and they are going to advance forward towards A with the foxes and pikes of their own. Only 1 unit of pikes though, some spears and swords. So 6 units of infantry in total versus 4 units in here of infantry and 1 cavalry. The attack on B has been launched, but it was going to be thwarted pretty easily. Not a single flank applied, not even a war cry, and this is Germanicus in Vengeance, so this is going to hurt. Wait, those are actually not Scipio cavalry. The Spanish team has 2 cavalry players. One of them is Chinese cavalry and the other is Scipio cavalry. So this is quite an interesting choice to bring 6 units of cavalry on Teutoburg Forest. Definitely interesting, as this map definitely heavily favors infantry, but as you know, the distances between bases and points are pretty long. The cavalry and their flexibility around the map can prove very, very useful if used correctly. The Chinese are trying to sneak past here the defenses of the Spanish team by sending the foxes all the way around to the healing zone, but the pikes are just waiting for them there and are not letting them getting out of the point. So it's a very easy place to defend. Just 3-4 corridors over here, block them off with pikes and you're good. But that unit of pike is going to be retreated as the foxmen are just barely squeezing past, but they're definitely paying the price for trying to do so. Yeah, that is not a good trade for the Chinese in the end. The Scorcher obviously just backed away from, not that big of a problem. The pikes here caught with their pants down. I mean, they do have the pikes, but they're going to turn around. Those soldiers need to stand up, and we'll see if the spin to win in the end will prove lethal, as now that unit of spears is stuck in close quarter combat. Well, those pikes are not able to be dropped, but pikes phalanx is still pike phalanx. But yeah, definitely getting that recharge over there wasn't good for the Spanish pikes. And D is now being backed up by the cavalry, so here comes the cavalry flexibility, I guess. Chinese team is sort of launching a counterattack with their double range composition. Both their archers and the repeating crossbows are over here, and they'll try pushing B, as the repeating crossbows for the Spanish team are now in the center trying to attack C, but Germanicus here in Testudo is having none of that. Pikemen also with Fight in the Shade, they're not getting barraged today. And the Chinese team is looking that they may be able to capture A. The healing zone is still being denied by one of the spears units, and there's only 1 pike left over here on A. But the cavalry has not been answered, and the cavalry is going to back up D possibly. I mean, there's nothing here for the Chinese team. The Chinese team themselves don't have a single unit of cavalry, so they're definitely not going to be able to answer that in time. And well, they were close, but not close enough. The 6 units of cavalry are paying back. That investment is definitely paying back for the Spanish team, and now the Spanish team is ahead in capture points, 3.3 points per second for them, 2 points per second for the Chinese, and that gap of 250 points is going to be closed by the Spanish team anytime soon. That being said, they're still being pressured around B, they're retreating their units, they have the cavalry in the area as well, but that's 1 unit of cavalry versus 6 ranged units. They may find 1 successful charge, but that will be about it. After that happens, they will be just shot down to pieces. And the Spanish team is also slowly running out of infantry, but it's not like the Chinese team has a lot of infantry either. They're just desperately charging through onto B, which, well, they did manage to do, and maybe that unit could be just killed by ranged units, but there is another freshly spawned unit of swords getting in on top of B. So yeah, that is not going to happen to China. Even though they have a lot of units over here, they're all ranged units. They are not going to capture the point as long as a melee unit here is present, which, well, is the case. Now the Foxmen are actually found themselves all the way in the Spanish team, but if the Spanish team actually captures C, which is what they are going to do, that base capture is just simply going to be denied. So quite a YOLO attempt here by the Chinese Foxes, but yep, in the end useless, so this player should just recall back to base, or maybe try attacking B from behind. That will still be the possibility, as the Chinese team really needs more melee units in here. The cavalry now found themselves inside the enemy ranged units, doing some decent damage, but then again, 2 units of cavalry versus 6 ranged units, they are going to die, but not without dealing a lot of damage before. Those Foxes decided to call back to the base rather than attacking B from behind. I think if they attacked from behind, they still could have gotten it, and there's still a possibility. There's only 1 last unit here for the Spanish team, and they're still holding on to D. So China hasn't really sent anything there yet. Well, now they're going to send the Foxmen and the pikemen as well, accompanied by some spears. So 6 units of infantry going from the Chinese base towards D. The Spanish team obviously doesn't know about that yet, but they should definitely just keep something on D to defend it. There we go. The pikemen have died somewhere, and now they have respawned over there, so the pikemen will be defend, but it will be still the 6 versus 3, so the cavalry support will definitely be needed over there. China also not sending anything to C, so Spain comfortably just sitting on top of that. And now the reinforcements from C are incoming to D. The Volksmen didn't attack in time. Well, the repeating crossbows could still just kill off this unit of infantry, as the archers take care of the repeating crossbows themselves, although thanks to those previous cavalry charges, those archers are not in that good health. And well, the Spanish team has healing zone over here available to them, even though they lost the B healing point. That doesn't really matter, because C is roughly the same distance. And let's see, one last unit of swords still here on top of the point being fired at by this Chinese ranged units, but that is just not enough damage in time. And the dogs arrive, and they are going to be able to easily recapture B, as the Chinese team doesn't have any reinforcements inside. Now the attack on D has been launched. Pikes here for the Spanish team, as they have spawned before here. They also added some swords as well, so it is 6 units of infantry versus 6 units of infantry, and this is going to look like a Spanish victory. Although here pikes kind of friendly firing each other, so if this pike duel goes the way of China, that may still turn around the battle over here, but the healing zone is still present here for the Spanish team, so even if such a disaster happens, they can just walk over here and heal up. They're also sending multiple reinforcements over from C towards D, so they will hold on to that. E still, I said, also is one of the best defending positions in the game. So even though the Spanish launched a powerful attack over there at the beginning of the battle, that didn't succeed, but now it is largely open, only one unit defending it, although 2 more are coming. But investing into defense of E, I don't know if that is going to be good for China, as they just need to get something else somewhere on the map. They can try attacking B, that surely is a possibility, but looks like they are going to try to attack C instead. They have respawned all their units back at the base. That's pretty much the only place they can do other than E. Now they're pushing downhill onto C. The Spanish repeating crossbows are already waiting them for them, but the Chinese have their own archers over there, able to outrange and outplay the repeating crossbows. Nice volleys over there. The repeating crossbows forced to run away and heal up, or maybe going forward. There is no threat of any Chinese cavalry after all, but instead of trying to duel the archers, they leave that to the cavalry to do them for them as well. They should, and they can themselves just focus on killing off the infantry. Although now they're focusing on one archer unit that the cavalry missed. Very nicely played, although no oath used in here. Vici has prevented them from using oath. Very nicely played here by the Chinese team, but then again the damage has been done and the archers will be forced to retreat. So the repeating crossbows, although 2 of the units are still pretty healthy, 1 of the units could go and heal. We'll see what the Spanish player are next to do. The fight is going obviously the way of the Spanish team, as they do have a healing zone right there, and well, they can just heal up anything they lost. And the China, well, they need to go all the way back to their base. So now they're leaving the units that are trying to flank D, and they are going into C instead. And that fight looks like it is going to go the way of Chinese, unless the Spanish can find some really good heals. But there is no melee units here on top of C. There are no melee units between those repeating crossbows, the healing zone, and the Chinese melee units incoming. So unless the Chinese team can very quickly react, speaking of very quickly react, they do have 6 units of cavalry after all. They are there for something, for some reason, and that's where they come from. Come in rather. So 3 units of cavalry has just respawned over here at C. They will be able to save their repeating crossbows, although this is spear unit, so obviously not a very good matchup for the cavalry. But well, they can obviously just heal, and as long as they save their repeating crossbows, that's their job done over there. They're also going to prevent other units of Chinese from getting in on top of the point. A really nice charge there into the back of the spears, although they tried to turn around, it was a little bit too late. And now the Chinese team attack onto C has also largely been stopped. So instead, now they're trying to send Volksmen on top of B. Let's see if they can find a... Okay, the Scorcher largely missed the dogs, but there is a possibility for them to flank this unit and quickly rout it. This is Germanicus, so no sort of any morale buffs available. There we go, just stand around this Volksman here. There we go. Yep, 2 flanks for the Volksman, and that equals unit routed, even though those are only side flanks. So this is going to be quickly cut down, and the Volksmen are going to have an advantage going into the matchup against the dogs. Dogs are getting a little bit of a buff from my own dog. He's rooting heavily for them. Go dogs, go team dogs! Well, they do have cavalry support as well. Not a charge though. Let's see what happens anywhere else on the map. Yep, the attack on sea is slowly fading away for the Chinese team as they are regrouping again. Cavalry inside their base as well. Yeah, they're healing up on the base, regrouping, and trying to launch another attack. They wanted to go on C, but now they have decided to go on to D, as they have spotted maybe a large force over here. Also reinforcements going from the Spanish team from C to B. So as they are diverting their attention away from C and D to B, they are trying to launch another attack onto D. They have, well, the Spanish have 1 unit of pikes, 2 units of swords over here. Is this healing something? No, not really. This player has all 3 units present there. Pikes now are getting a little bit wrecked by the repeating crossbows, but they are now in Fight the Shade, so that's not going to be a problem for them. And the pike unit just being here shot by archers, but again, Fight the Shade, not that big of a deal. Let's see. Now the Chinese team is also reinforcing their attack onto B. They managed to clear the dogs, well, almost. The dogs have to retreat, but the Volksmen are also not very good, and the pikes for the Chinese team are arriving together with some spear and swords reinforcements, but so did the Spanish reinforcements, and B is definitely not going to go the way of China. Dogs being set against pikes very, very nicely. They're still in Fight in the Shade even. Well, now going to pike phalanx is definitely not going to be a possibility for them. Even more reinforcements of cavalry for the Spanish team going around, trying to flank the Chinese team, prevent them from going back, sending any reinforcements, and even possibly just recharging the pikemen. But they don't really need to. They do have the repeating crossbows able to deal with them very, very nicely. And yeah, just run away from the spike units with your infantry and let the repeating crossbows deal with them. Very nicely played there by the Spanish team. Now the Chinese, they have given up on trying to attack D. Well, they're still trying to play around this pikemen. They can just buy so much, and they're just standing here in Fight in the Shade. If they get attacked from by swords from the front, that's not even a big deal for them. Now they are Vichit, so no pike phalanx for them. But they could always just shield bash into pike phalanx. That is a possibility. But if they do, then they get wrecked by repeating crossbows. But well, they're still buying a lot of time. Swords are here to respond. Spanish don't even feel like reinforcing it even further. They're sending units away from D. They're not feeling threatened by that at all, which is interesting. And the Chinese team is launching a huge attack onto C, but then again, Spanish are responding with huge force of their own, as the fighting on B has cleared up and both teams have walked away from that. Well, Chinese team rather have died, as they do have their pikeman player dead, waiting to respawn somewhere, most likely in the base. And yeah, the Chinese team are trying to have their last desperate attack onto C. They could potentially capture C and then go straight to the enemy base, but Spanish team is definitely not letting that happen. They want to get out of groups, and they are going to secure the first victory in just roughly 2 minutes time, as they're 400 points away with 3 points gained per second. D is now possibly going to go the way of China, as there's one last unit here left. Friendly fire galore, but obviously that doesn't matter as long as this point is captured as quickly as possible. That's what matters for China. Cavalry for the Spanish team incoming, but it can be very easily stopped. There we go, by the spears. Trying to outmaneuver, but it's not going to happen. The narrow passage is, well, narrow, and it's not going to let the Spanish team get out of D. So D is going to be recaptured by China, but it is honestly just a little bit too little, too late. Attack on C is still going strong. The Spanish team is healing up themselves though, so they are able to reinforce their front lines, unlike the Chinese team that needs to bring the reinforcements all the way from the E point over their base. You know, the Spanish team are very close. They're not letting go of what they have once captured, although China has captured C at the very beginning, but then they have been outmaneuvered by the Spanish team, so very nicely played by them. And now they are only 250 points away, 2.2 points per second, as both teams have 2 points uncontested and C is contested. But well, I don't see this battle ending any other way that in a Spanish victory. We just need to bring it over the finish line. But the situation now in points is going to be very interesting, right? So now Spanish team has minimum a tie, but that doesn't guarantee them getting out of the groups yet. They need to win the next battle. That is going to be most likely the map choice of China, since, well, that would first most likely the Spanish choice. So Spain has won on their own map. Now they'll need to repeat that success on the Chinese map, and if the Chinese win, which means they'll tie the match, they will still advance to the semi-finals as the 4th seed. And now Spanish victory here also means that the Polish team has been locked in as the 3rd seed going into the semi-finals. If it was the Chinese victory 2-0, then the Polish team would have dropped to the 4th place and the China would advance from the 3rd place. Well, now the victory is literally seconds away, so I will see you on Sunday on the second battle of this match. It's going to be all about that battle. Whoever wins that one last battle is going out of groups into the semi-finals, and then we will have Russia versus Ukraine, 2 of the best units by far in this tournament so far. Well, looking to keep that way. Very exciting match to see of what those 2 best teams are going to do. But before that, one last match between China and Spain. In the meantime, while you wait for that, you can help us bring Total War back to the West. You already know what to do. And until then, I'll see you on Arenas Battlefields, Commanders.